ladies and gentlemen, we back. You know, had to do a little self-care, take a little vacation. But now we back at it. I'm gonna do a little video on doing an oil change. This is gonna be a 6.7 Cummins, but I mean, this can basically be used on any semi truck. It doesn't, you know, this is gonna be a little bit smaller, but just gonna be the same basics, the same, you know, strategies, the same, you know, start the same way, finish the same way. So yeah, we're gonna get into it when he gets over here, and we're gonna get this done. All right, so a couple baits for the mobile cats. What you're gonna need, this is a Flow tool. I think it's a 27-gallon drain tank. I love it, amazing. The trick you can do with it is cut this out, so when you drain that oil, it's gonna go directly in this hole and not hit it and splash, or fill up and overflow, because that will happen. And you're gonna want to have this unplugged whenever that happens as well. All right, another key is a nice grease gun. This is a DeWalt. This one's garbage. I just got in Milwaukee. I'm gonna say go with that one. All right, he's here. We're gonna get started. First thing I do off top, oil. Get my oil done, and we go from there. So I'm gonna drain it. Now I said you know you do the oil first, and I like to stress, do one thing at a time so you are not screwing it up. But you can bring your little grease gun down here if you wanted, and you could get some of this front end greased up, and I'll show you where some of the grease spots usually are. So you just get this, line up your drain pan, make sure your eyes open, and let it rip. Put some rags down here, get your hands clean. Yeah, like I said, you could let this go, especially a big truck. It's gonna take a little bit longer, but you could grease up down here and get a head start. All right, so we got that boy tightened up. Make sure you put your plug back in and tighten it up. I'm gonna clean that up. Little rag. Like I said, I'm showing you your grease points. So you got you're gonna have your kingpins. You're gonna have one on the top, and one on the bottom. Your slack adjusters right here. Usually you're gonna always have one on your arm. There'll be one here. You're always gonna have one on these, and like I always say, I mean, yeah, it's popping out on this, but I don't like when it's like popping out and gushing down to the bottom. If you're gonna do that with your kingpins, that's okay, because your kingpins, you know, these you want to try and not have holes in them. The kingpins, you want to have as much grease in them as you possibly can. Oh yeah, AM/PM. All right, so we got that. Like I said, you can do the grease, but you want to focus on the oil. So next thing I'm doing is I'm gonna get the oil filter off, fill the new one up with oil, install it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put the oil in the system. So another thing you want to do after you fill it, you'll kind of do it naturally, but a nice little oil on that rubber seal. Go ahead and get the old one off, put the new one on, fill it up. All right, some people like to they poke holes in the bottom of the filters. That works. I don't do that. What I just did is I just take it off. Sometimes it drains down, sometimes it can be messy, yes, but I mean, I just get it, and sometimes I use a rag and take it off and drop it, just fill it out the rest of the way. So it's kind of your preference, however you want to do it. And then whenever you put the filter back on, obviously it's lefty loosey, righty tighty. So anytime you put that filter back on, I use this, but you're really not supposed to use this. You can use your hands as long as you actually tighten the thing down. You don't want it too loose, but you really don't want to tighten this thing down, so next time you go back to do it, or mechanic, it don't come off. Because I've had them where it's about near impossible to come off. I do it the old school way. I'm about to get a little pump or something. I have an air reel at the house, but it's just, you know, carrying a 55-gallon drum around is kind of a pain in the ass, or I think it would be, unless you had a specific truck or trailer for that. Always make sure your plug is plugged in, because you will dump your oil everywhere. And this stuff ain't necessarily cheap. Alright, this takes 16 gallons. Oh my goodness. Of course it would do this. Oh. So I don't have my fast flow. This thing right here, man. This is a joke, right? This is gonna take forever in a day. That ain't gonna work. I'm gonna have to figure something else out. But yeah, the one I usually use is broken. My lazy ass didn't go get it, so I'm kind of stuck right now. So I'm about to figure something out and we'll finish this up. All right, so I guess science is what I was doing wrong. I had that funnel screwed in, getting in the air, so it was filling up super quick. So we got it now. We're gonna go ahead and check the oil. Check where we're at on it. Always check your oil before you start the truck. Always. No matter what. Alright, we are right at the fill line. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it, and we'll recheck it. See where we're at. So what I'm doing is I'm basically, like I was telling you before, I'm doing the oil system first. Before I even do the fuel, I'm getting everything done with my engine, because I want to be sure that I'm good to go. And you don't want to be priming the oil and the fuel system at the same time. You want to get the oil going, because if you don't have that oil fully primed itself and you're trying to do the fuel and your fuel isn't primed, you're gonna screw that engine up. So I always start the engine, wait till you see your oil pressure gauge go up to where it needs to go, and you can cut it off. So you're basically doing it in like 2 phases. And really it's 3 phases, because I do oil, fuel, and then I do everything else. So you're checking the hubs, you're checking the trans, checking all that stuff, and we'll obviously get all that. Alright, now at that point I just topped it off to what I think it needed. I'll finish topping it off. I mean, I'll probably check here again just to be sure, but I'll check it once I'm all said and done, because I want to start it again, let it run, and then check that oil one last good time. Yeah, so we're right a little bit below the full, but I'll just put a little more in there when we all done. All right, so now we're moving on to the fuel system. All right, so we got the fuel filters filled up, put on there. I've been priming it. It's still a little loose. It's always way easier if you got someone up there to give it a gas. Yeah, try it. If it don't go, we'll try it again. Well, you're pumping down here. Usually you can get it going. Hold it down to like 1500 RPMs. And you just let them hold it down and run it through there. I got the grease done. About to check the differentials. See if I can get this nasty stuff out of there. You know, while you're under there, you check brakes, you check everything, look at it, make sure everything's good. But I mean, the basics is really not hard to do your own oil change. So, you know, I'm gonna show you how to check the diff and the radiator in a second. So your diff is usually just gonna be, a half inch. Take it off, and you basically want to put your finger in there. And this is the first knuckle right here. When you put your finger in that hole and point down, you want that oil to be touching somewhere, and you know you're good. If it's not, you need to put some in there. But we're about to check that. And oh yeah, like I was saying, so radiator is going to be different. I mean, you're really just checking your coolant level. On this one, it's going to be over here. So boom, you can see right here it's low. So I'm going to put some in there. And then we don't deal with their tires, but in most cases you'd want to check their PSI, fill it up. And then obviously you need to get to check your trans oil. It needs to be in neutral, and you need to wait for the truck to get hot. So you have to wait a little bit. But I like to let it run anyway, make sure I don't have any coolant leaks or anything crazy. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it. This guy here looks like it's got a seal leak, but it's got fluid, so we're good. So you just want to check over everything, but be sure you're doing your oil and your fuel separately. Get your fuel system started up. Get your oil system started up, you know, separately, so that you guys are all good. But all right, then I'm gonna get this guy going so I can get this next one moving and move on. All right, peace. I wanted to add, a lot of times the old filters, fuel and oil, will have these O-rings, and a lot of times they will get stuck. They'll get stuck underneath here. So when you put the new one on that already has them, it's not gonna seal, so it's gonna leak, and you're not gonna be able to prime it. So always, I just was like, you know, I'm gonna mention that. So always check that, and when you're doing your fuel filters or oil filters. All right, peace. Okay, since we're doing, oh, here he comes, perfect timing. But see, this is what's supposed to, see how it's got pressure? This is what it's supposed to be like. You should just be able to come right up. Start it without a driver, but with a driver it's way easier. You might need to give it a little gas. Alright, you run at the, wanted to get about 1500 RPMs and run it for about a minute or two. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is you can dump oil at O'Reilly's and filters. So if you need to dump your oil and filters at O'Reilly's, they will let you do it. If you got a semi truck, they should let you pour that much. You should be all right. You just might have to finesse them a little bit. All right, then that's gonna be it. Driver's ready to get in this truck, and I'm ready to move on to the next location. Peace.